It's time to rank all 11 Star Wars movies from worst to best. Welcome back. I know a lot of the excitement lately has been about Ahsoka, but as we move past Ahsoka into a quiet time for Star Wars fans, I thought it would be a fun time to give my rankings of all 11 Star Wars movies. Now, I am only going to rank the live action movies, so this will be episodes 1 through 9, Rogue One, and Solo. So, without further ado, let's hop in. Coming in at number 11 is Solo, A Star Wars Story. Now, this movie was fine. I enjoyed watching it. I thought the characters were great. It was a fun movie, but I'm really judging this based on how many times I have wanted to watch it again since it first came out, and that has been very few and far between. I saw this movie in theaters, I want to say like a week or two after it came out. I managed to not even be spoiled that Darth Maul was in the movie, and it just really didn't stick with me. It's a fun story. I liked seeing Woody Harrelson, but it wasn't necessary. We have cool things like how Han and Chewie met. We get a little bit more on the crime world that is going on. But outside of that, there just isn't a lot of Star Wars lore for me in this movie. So for that reason, it comes in at number 11. And at number 10, I have Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. As per most of the sequel trilogy, it's either a you love it or you hate it type of movie. And I am in the camp that really just does not like this movie. I thought the pacing was terrible. I thought there was no structure to the film. I think J.J. Abrams was busy trying to correct Episode 8 instead of just telling a story that built off The Last Jedi, and I think that was a big mistake. Rey ended up being a Skywalker. I'm not a huge fan of that. And the kiss with Kylo Ren or Ben Solo at the very end of the movie, I laughed out loud in theaters when that happened. There are parts of the movie that I really enjoy. Seeing Han Solo talk to Ben Solo, I thought that was the perfect scene for that moment. I enjoyed seeing Rey and Kylo Ren on the second Death Star fighting there. Definitely a few cool things in this movie, but by and large, quite the letdown. I mean, we're to the point where we have to bring Palpatine back as the bad guy instead of just letting it be Kylo Ren. I know it's my opinion, but not a big fan of Episode 9. So coming in at number 10, The Rise of Skywalker. At number 9, and surprisingly, this is the first Star Wars movie I saw in theater, and that would be Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. It was the first Star Wars movie I saw in theaters. I remember getting all the toys and the action figures and everything that could go with it, but as I've grown up and watched more Star Wars content and rewatched, Episode 2 is not a very exciting movie. It sets up a lot of politics. We get the backstory on the clones. There's a lot of talking. It has a little bit of a soap opera feel when Anakin and Padme are on Naboo. Not that I don't like the movie, just compared to all the other movies, it doesn't rank as high. I do think the scene in the arena on Geonosis is a very cool scene, seeing all those Jedi in one place. That was so cool as a kid, and I still think it's cool now. Seeing Anakin dual Count Dooku with 2 sabers was awesome. The secret wedding at the end was cool, but again, compared to the other Star Wars movies, Episode 2 has quite a bit of boring aspects to it, in my opinion, and for that reason, it comes in at number 9. Coming in at number 8 is everyone's favorite Star Wars movie, The Last Jedi. Probably the most polarizing Star Wars content to date. People genuinely love it or they genuinely hate it. I fall somewhere in between. Again, there's parts I like, there's parts I don't like. Luke Skywalker being a recluse and hidden away from the action and essentially giving up on the fight does seem a little strange for me given how much hope Luke Skywalker has in the original trilogies. You can say Yoda and Obi-Wan were recluses as well, but I think there's a few nuances there there that just don't quite add up. So for that really irked me. I left the theater not really sure if I liked the movie or not, and I've watched it a lot. I've read the book, and after reading the book, I think I do like it a little bit more. I certainly love seeing the dynamic between Kylo Ren and Rey. It's a visually stunning movie. It's very pretty to watch, but overall there's just too many aspects of the movie that I'm not a huge fan of, specifically the whole Canto Bight arc, too much corny humor, and the whole deal with Luke Skywalker staying on that island and not coming back into the fight. I'm just not very okay with that, and so for that reason, Star Wars Episode 8 comes in at number 8. And at number 7, we have Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. This movie has so many amazing scenes. We get introduced to Darth Maul. We see Palpatine starting to pull the strings very early. We're introduced to Anakin Skywalker and a trip to Tatooine. There's a lot to like about this movie. Now, there are some aspects of the movie, obviously, that make me rank it number 7. I think we stay on Tatooine a very long time. I'm not a huge fan of pod racing. Jar Jar Binks, I kind of have a love or hate relationship with that character. There was a lot of silliness, as you can see, added in. But again, it's a movie kind of geared towards children. But there's a lot to like as well. So this movie falls close to the middle for me at number 7. Number 6 and number 5 were hard for me to rank. They can almost be interchangeable. But number 6 is going to be Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. We are introduced to so many amazing new characters. The fact that the entire movie is based around a few words in the opening crawl of A New Hope, and we get this entire great story out of it, I love that. Jyn Erso and Cassian Andor are very interesting characters. I think their actors portrayed them very well. The fact that it's a war movie instead of a Force-themed movie was also different for Star Wars, and so I really enjoy that. And of course, seeing the Death Star in action was great. The Vader scene at the very end, followed by Princess Leia having an appearance, really capped this movie off for me. The more I talk about it, the more I think it should be ranked higher. But because it is a little bit separate from the main Star Wars story as a whole, I am going to rank it at number 6, but it pains me to have it that low. Number 5 for me is going to be Episode 7, The Force Awakens. When I think back on my history as a Star Wars fan, I think 2015 may have been the most exciting time for me. Star Wars was finally coming back. It was an interesting story. Yes, it did rip off A New Hope, like a lot, but it was still a fun movie. Visually, it looks great. I think the acting in it was very good. How they really tied us along and left us with that cliffhanger at the end with Luke Skywalker on Octo. I think that was a great ending for a Star Wars movie to keep us guessing for a few years until Episode 8 came out. Being introduced to so many cool new characters and having mysterious backstories behind them all really captivated me. Of course, seeing Han Solo and Princess Leia and Luke Skywalker on the big screen again was amazing. I think Harrison Ford stole the show in this movie and made it such a fun time to be a Star Wars fan. Number 4 is going to be Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. This was probably my least favorite Star Wars movie of the original 6 as I was growing up because I thought it was boring. Now, having grown and matured a lot since then, I realized that it is a great starting point for the saga. The trench run scene at the end, which just has a lot of tension and the stakes are very high. We're introduced to all of our heroes. Are the special effects amazing? No, but the movie's 50 years old. And as I've grown older, I've just grown more fond of Episode 4 is the jumping point for the fandom. I think Rogue One may have kind of helped me like it even more. Being able to watch Rogue One and go right into Episode 4, it's almost as if it's one big continuous story. So if you've never watched them just back to back, take 5 hours one day and do that. You will not regret it. Coming in at number 3, we have Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. I have probably watched this movie more than any Star Wars movie on this list. I remember being in elementary school and watching this movie twice in theaters when it came out. I had all the toys. I watched the DVD, all the special, behind the scenes aspects and deleted scenes to the movie. I had the video game. Episode 3 was a defining moment for me as a child and as a fan of Star Wars. So I think for that reason, there is a lot of nostalgia for this one and why it ranks so highly on my list. Everyone knew what was going to happen in the movie. We knew Anakin was going to be turning to the dark side. We knew the Empire was going to be coming into power. So for a movie where there was not a ton of mystery as far as what the general plot would be, especially with the name being Revenge of the Sith, the bad guys are going to win. So knowing the overall idea of the movie and then it's still delivering at such a high level, I think it speaks a lot to the storytelling of this movie. The action is almost non-stop. It's great to see Anakin and Obi-Wan both in combat together and then capping the movie off in what, in my opinion, is the most epic Star Wars lightsaber battle on Mustafar. It's just a very special movie and it will always hold a very special place in my heart as far as this fandom is concerned. And it does a great thing, which I think Star Wars does better than maybe any other fandom or intellectual property, is that the good guys can lose and you can still have a great sense of hope at the end of a movie, and Revenge of the Sith delivers that. Time for the top 2. So coming in at number 2, I have Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. Sometimes I flip-flop on Episode 3 and Episode 6, but Episode 6 is just a very solid movie. It caps off the original trilogy. Luke Skywalker's story really comes to a nice ending here. He never gives up on his father, Darth Vader, and here we see him redeeming him at the end of the movie. There's a lot of action, there's classic Star Wars humor, we're introduced to Ewoks. There's just really not a whole lot to not like about Return of the Jedi. And coming in at number 1, obviously there's only one left, and I think this is a lot of people's favorite Star Wars movie, but that would be Empire Strikes Back, Episode 5. This movie is so different than A New Hope. In A New Hope, the underdogs win, all seems to be going well for the rebellion, and then we get to Episode 5, and they just get beat every step of the way. They get beat on Hoth, they get captured on Bespin, Luke loses his hand. The rebellion is not in a good situation at the end of this. Han Solo is in carbonite. All of our characters face a lot of adversity, and we're kind of left hanging there waiting until the next movie to see, hey, how are they going to overcome this? So it's not a traditional good guys versus bad guys film where the good guys win. The bad guys win every step of the way, but it does a great job at building character for our characters. They all have to overcome something, and Episode 5 provides that challenge for what they need to overcome. And then of course in Return of the Jedi, we pay all of that off. Now, on top of all that, we do get the greatest reveal in movie history where Vader says, "No, I am your father." People who don't even know Star Wars know that line. So Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back, it's a big deal. Even though the good guys lose, there is that sense of hope at the very end when Luke and Leia and R2 and C-3PO are on that med bay. They've just lost. It's not good, but there's hope. It ends on a happy note, which is kind of strange given that the entire movie, the good guys keep losing over and over again. So those are my Star Wars rankings from worst to best, all 11 films. Let me know in the comments what your rankings are. Let me know where you disagree with my rankings. Thanks so much for watching. If you haven't already, please like this video and subscribe. I post Star Wars content daily and would love to share that with you. As always, may the Force be with you.